What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for coming back to another video. In today's video, we are continuing my series of Halloween horror-related videos for this October with 1931's Dracula. So I'm super excited to get this series of videos out. I've been wanting to do the Universal monsters for a while, and I just wanted to wait until now to do it this October. My goal is to get at least the first movie in each of the monsters film franchises done. So this will all be the Universal horror monster franchises that started back in the day. We're starting with the first one, like I said, 1931's Dracula, starring Bela Lugosi. The one thing that I want to say about this, going back to revisit it, was just that it's really crazy to go back and revisit this film. A film that I grew up really loving. I've always had a lot of appreciation and love for these old classic films. You know, they're dated, they're older, they're from the 30s, 40s, 50s. You know, that you gotta expect a dated element. Not everything's gonna hold up, but there's a certain charm to these old classic films. So it's a lot of fun to go back and rewatch this movie and see Bela Lugosi's performance. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. Bela Lugosi really set up what Dracula would still be like today. It's really crazy to see what this movie did as far as its history and the kind of impact that it had on any story that would have Dracula in it in the future. Now, of course, we've gotten drastically different films that have portrayed Dracula in very many different ways, but you know, it's really crazy because this film, the voice, the look, the feel, the vibe, everything about it was really established with this movie. Now, of course, Dracula is also based on a book from Bram Stoker back in the day, so obviously that's where majority of that lore and that setup was. But to have been able to bring the character to screen the way that they did, and just everything, again, the voice that Bela Lugosi put on, everything about the way he looks and feels and moves, even in things like, I don't know, like a Hotel Transylvania nowadays, everything is really still inspired heavily by this performance.
Listen to them, children of the night. What music they make.
And like I said, if you're going back to watch a film this old, you have to expect that there's going to be so many dated elements, and this film definitely does have a lot of dated elements. Right out of the gate, the performances are really funny to watch. Some of them are really solid for the time and, you know, really enjoyable. There's just theatrical charm to it. But then there's some performances that are just downright terrible. The line delivery is pretty hilarious to go back and watch. However, I had a lot of fun going back to revisit this film because I just have a lot of love for this era of film, everything about the way it looked, the way it felt. Now, going back and watching this film, it's definitely not as good as I remember. I remember the story being a little bit better than it actually is, and going back and rewatching it, it's kind of just a hodgepodge of events that go on. There's really no setup or build up for things. There's really no character development throughout it. And of course, you can't look at something like this through a modern lens and criticize it in that way, because that's just totally unfair for the time and, you know, the creators and what they did for the time. And it goes without saying, this is one of the most impactful horror films in all of, you know, cinematic history. Dracula, this face, Bela Lugosi, you can still see it at the theme parks when you go to Universal Studios. There's just something that's so iconic about this phase, this era of horror, and specifically these Universal horror monsters. They really set the precedent for what a lot of horror icons would be, and I think Bela Lugosi still stands the test of time when it comes to that. When you go back and watch it though, there's so many little funny things about it. Certain moments with the performances where there's no music and there's really not much going on, and it's just kind of creepy glances and just people just standing there like just almost like kind of just dead face. There's even moments in this film where you'll see somebody deliver a line that's kind of like energetic with a smile, and then the second after they say the line, their face just like dies down. Like they just kind of like, they said their line and they just stopped talking and they just went straight faced. And I find that was kind of funny to go back and rewatch. There is a charm to this film going back and rewatching it, but it's definitely very dated. The story is just a hodgepodge of events. It isn't until like maybe the last 30 minutes or so that you have a basic idea of the characters that you will be seeing in the film, and that's it. Those are the characters that you'll be seeing, but it doesn't really set things up in a way. Certain things just kind of come and go, and you're like, wow, that was kind of brief, and it just kind of moved on. And again, it's a dated film. There's a lot about it from a storytelling perspective that does not work in a modern sense. So going back and rewatching it, it would definitely stood out to me a lot more than I remembered. But like I said, the look, the feel, and the vibe of it really is just so charming, and so there's a dated element there that's so intriguing to me. And Bela Lugosi's performance, though it's laughable at certain moments, again, it set the standard for what a lot of vampire characters and Dracula, you know, reimaginings would kind of be played off of. You know what I mean? Like what he did in this film was really set the precedent, you know what I mean? And the fact that there's still things, whether it's, you know, in parodies or animated things or anything like that, the fact that there are still things coming out that are inspired heavily by the voice, the look, the way his body would move, that's all set up in this film. Yeah, I think Bela Lugosi really knocked it out of the park with this film as far as his performance. Even though you go back and watch it, like I said, there are so many moments that are so laughable. Like you can't watch this movie and not laugh at certain moments with Bela Lugosi, where he's just kind of standing there glancing at people. Again, there's no real character development in this film. This is not a film to revisit often. It's nice to revisit for something like this, October, to do a review for it and, you know, kind of just have a laugh enjoying it. But you can't go into this expecting some big entertaining film. It's definitely, I think right now in my mind, one of the weaker films in the Universal Horror Monsters, but I have not revisited all the other ones just yet. But I remember some of the other ones that I do like a lot more tend to have a better story throughout them. So I'm hoping when I revisit the other ones that I'll get a little bit more story than I remember. And in this one, it was about what I remembered, just a little bit less story than I remember. I guess I filled it out in my head a little bit more. All in all, I do recommend this film. If you're a fan of horror and you just want to see kind of the beginnings of certain horror franchises and kind of like what kind of set the path for a lot of different films in the future, you know, there's a lot there that you can see inspired a lot more for the future. And like I said, it's really awesome to see how much of Dracula is still based on what you saw in this film, even though they've really doubled down and been able to do a lot better Dracula films since then. Yeah, you know, I think it's a fun movie to revisit for that sake. I don't think it's something that you'll rewatch a lot, but I do recommend it for those of you who want to check it out. If it sounds like something that'll be a little bit boring to you, it could be, it totally can be. The movie's only an hour and 15 minutes though, so I think if you just watch it with the perspective that you're watching an old classic and you can kind of appreciate it for what it is and kind of enjoy the really good moments and the really entertaining moments and just kind of have fun with all the cheesy and silly and dated moments, I think it's a really fun rewatch.
Indeed.
All in all, guys, go check out Bela Lugosi's Dracula 1931. Definitely recommend it for this Halloween season. Again, you can kind of get some laughs and just enjoyment out of watching this older film. But yeah, the story is just not really all there, and it kind of just ends. The movie just kind of ends, and you're like, all right, that was anticlimactic, and that's the movie, you know what I mean? But it's really crazy to see the impact it had on people back in the day and the impact that it still has on cinema today, even though, of course, it is incredibly dated and it's not a movie that really stands the test of time. That's going to be my review for 1931's Dracula. Not a great film in a lot of ways, but definitely a classic that, you know, has its special place in cinema history. Definitely recommend it, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this movie, what's your favorite Dracula film, and what's your favorite Universal horror monster film. I definitely want to hear that, guys. So leave all those comments down below, guys. Hit that subscribe button for more videos. Hit the bell icon if you guys are interested in more of these videos. I will be continuing my reviews for the Universal horror monster franchise very soon, so you guys can keep a lookout for that. And I will also be doing more horror and Halloween related films throughout the rest of the month. And I will see all of you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!